Hey guys, a couple of weekends ago I was out riding my 9er electric mountain bike, and all of a sudden I noticed that the shifting on the bike was not quite up to spec. Ultimately, I found the problem, but it was a little bit obscure, and I want to share it with you today. So let's get into it. So I'm out riding my bike and everything's going along great for the first 2 or 3 miles. Everything's working perfectly, and then all of a sudden I noticed that my shifting is just not as crisp as it normally is. And I get off the bike to check my normal check, and normally when that happens, the problem is that the derailleur bolt, which attaches the derailleur to the derailleur hanger, has come loose. I have it marked. I got off, I checked the mark, and it was spot on. So that meant that wasn't the problem. I looked the bike over just to see if there was anything obvious. No issue. So I kept riding the bike, and I could easily compensate for the item by holding the shifter in a little bit longer. When I stopped riding for lunch, I went down to my trailer and hooked up my derailleur hanger to see if maybe the derailleur had gotten bumped or bent. And there was a little bit. It wasn't exactly perfect. It was very good, but it wasn't exactly perfect. So I adjusted the derailleur hanger a little bit, hoping that was the problem, and went back out for a ride. And, the problem was better, but it was still there. It wasn't as good as I normally expect on my bike. It was manageable, though, with just a little bit of extra hold on the shifter. So anyway, I kept riding. And then on the second day I was riding and just, dealing with the problem and saying, hey, I'll do a thorough checkout on the bike when I get home. There must be something broken on the derailleur or some other issue. And all of a sudden, I'm out riding the second day and I notice on the bike that something feels funny, and I get off and start checking, and lo and behold, the rear wheel, the rear axle is come loose, and the rear wheel is wobbling around in the back of the frame. I mean, that's not uncommon, but it's relatively unusual. I mean, I normally check that, but anyway, mine had come loose, so I tightened it back up. I didn't think any more about it and went on to the ride. So when I got home and I did a thorough deep dive and looked at everything and just spent some time going through it, what the problem was is that the bolt that attaches the derailleur hanger to the frame had come loose. Now, many derailleur hangers have a bolt that attaches them, a nut or a bolt that attaches it to the frame. But on this particular bike, it's a little bit obscure. It's sort of down in a little hole, and it's not obvious to me anyway when I look at it. And the minute I stuck my wrench in it and twisted it, it was loose. And, I tightened it up. So just to be clear, what was happening was as the bolt came loose, the derailleur hanger was therefore becoming loose, and it was moving just a little bit. And any movement in that derailleur hanger will mess up your shifting, and that's what was happening with me. The loose bolt allowed the derailleur hanger to move a little bit, and as it moved, the derailleur was not indexed properly relative to the cassette, and hence the shifting was not what it should be on the bike. Took the rear end apart, took the derailleur hanger completely off, checked it out. It was fine. Reassembled it, put on Loctite, tightened it up. And now I've taken the bike out for a ride, and shifting is perfect, spot on. So obviously that was the problem. Now I think not only did it affect the shifting, but also because the rear axle runs through that, I believe that when it became loose and it was wobbling a little bit back there, it was just enough to cause the rear axle to start to unthread, and that's what caused the rear wheel to wobble. I mean, it was loose in the frame. So, this is something that I knew about, but under in riding it out on the trail, I just completely forgot about it. It's a little bit obscure, but now I'm very much aware of it on this bike. I've marked it with a with a hash mark so I can look at it quickly and see if it's come loose. And like I said, I Loctited it. So A little bit of an unusual issue, but not completely uncommon, and something you ought to pay attention to on your bike. Well, there you have it, guys. That's how I ultimately resolved the shifting problem on my bike. I hope I've given you guys something to think about, and I'll see you at the top.